Mitch, we're going to talk today, I think, to kick it all off. We got a lot of things we're going to get to today on the show, but one of the interesting things to me is my grandparents retired in the 70s. So I was in high school. I'm older than you by a decade or so. And so I graduated high school in 77. I was a sixth-round draft choice of the Dodgers at 17. So I was washed up by the time I was 20. How about that? So you lasted a lot longer. 11,
Yeah.
what, 9 years in the NFL before the Chiefs broke your leg? Almost.
7 years. And I always joke about that, but I always say, I was an old decrepit man, retired at 29,
Right, exactly.
retired from football anyway.
But my grandparents had pensions. They had Social Security. I mean, their savings were kind of immaterial for their retirement life because they weren't, back then, I don't know what it was. Our grandparents didn't do a whole lot, it didn't seem like. Maybe some did. Mine did not. They went to a little, maybe a dinner on a Friday night and a dance, and then that was it. They didn't do much. They would come watch all our games and stuff, though, my sister and I, so that was cool. But income was not an issue for them. Income is an issue for me. I don't have a pension. I've got a 401k, IRA, whatever, but I don't have that guaranteed income other than a Social Security check when I start that, which could be in 2026. I'd be that age. It's born in 1959. It's 66 and 10 months. But here's what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how much people need, the cost of retirement. And I think it's really interesting. There's a Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average retiree spends about $5,000 a month. Is that on par with what you found?
It's all over the board. Obviously, everybody's different, but yeah, that sounds like a reasonable average.
So obviously, some will spend more and some will spend less. There's no doubt about that. So let's dive what it takes to create that retirement plan that you do for your clients at Mitch Lyons Wealth. What goes into a retirement plan?
Well, first and foremost, it's about identifying what your retirement looks like, right? What do you want it to look like? And what's that going to cost? And that gets down to sitting down with pen and paper and putting down what are those monthly bills that you have to keep the lights on and, keep the car tank filled with gas and all those fixed costs, right? And and you need to make sure you have a paycheck because once you retire, that paycheck stops flowing, right? And we need to create paychecks to keep paying those bills. And, so that's a huge part is the identification of what you're going to need. Some of the things we factor in when we're doing an analysis is, okay, that's in today's dollars, right? Folks forget that, they've got a good chance of, living 25, 30 years in retirement. And guess what? We all know that costs rise. They don't stay the same. So we have to make sure we're factoring in inflation, that we have income sources that are going to rise with inflation, make sure our portfolios and the tools we use within that retirement plan account for that, right? And, just a lot of people go with an old rule of thumb and they're thinking about, what's that amount? What do I need to save? What do I have to have in my account to retire? And that's really not the issue. What the issue is how much income can your portfolio create, right? And that's what brings peace and peace of mind to people in retirement is having that monthly income.
Yeah, because we've talked about this before on the program, and that is the old commercials of, what's your number? Oh, that's your number? They stand in the backyard with their number under their arms and all of that. And that is important because obviously the bigger the number, the more, I guess, opportunities you have. But Mitch has sat down with people that had, $2 million and it wasn't enough for them to retire. And he sat down with people that have $250,000 and they're good to go because it's really about expenses, what's going out, what's coming in. What are some of the biggest risks that people need to prepare for when it comes to creating that monthly paycheck? Because it's not unusual for somebody to be retired 30 years in today's world. 30 years without a paycheck, you better have a strategy in place, I'm thinking.
Well, no question about it. And number one is what we already talked about, inflation, right? Those costs are going to rise over time. So we need to make sure that we're keeping up with that and accounting for that, right? Another risk is the unexpected costs, right? It's great that you're going to spend $5,000 a month, but what happens when you've got the healthcare issues or perhaps long-term care needs down the road, or, the storm blows your roof off and you've got an unexpected surprise that wasn't exactly fitting into that $5,000 a month budget. We've got to make sure we're able to handle those unexpected things. And then there's, the end of the day, it's longevity risk, which is really, I call the great multiplier of risk. People think of market risk and interest rate risk and all that, but the longer you live, it just exacerbates those risks. It makes them worse, right? If you're running out of money or running low on money in retirement, living longer that's not going to help the situation at all. So longevity risk is huge. And that's something that we have to account for.
Yeah. The longer we're here, the more market volatility we'll see. The more opportunities for healthcare issues. There's just a lot on our plate, I think, when you get to retirement. It should be a great time, and if you have a plan You sit down with Mitch and the team at Mitch Lyons Wealth, then now you got an idea anyway where you are. One of the things I think is interesting, well, I've talked about my grandparents where they had pensions and Social Security. I don't have a pension. There's still pensions out there, government employees, city employees, teachers and the like. A lot of
Sure.
pensions are out there, but most of us don't have that. So at the end of the day, creating that paycheck to last us 30 years, how do we turn savings into that reliable income?
Well, there's a number of tools that can be used, right? A lot of people think of dividend paying stocks, right? That will create a consistent income as long as those dividends keep getting paid. You have to account for that. That doesn't always remain the case, but having an efficient plan there, income annuities can play a role. People that employ those, really, what an income annuity is, it's really no different than Social Security, except you're relying on the claims paying ability of an insurance company versus the federal government, right? Social Security is an annuity. Essentially, it's going to keep paying you the rest of your life. And that's what an income annuity does. So a lot of times we'll take a portion of somebody's nest egg and create income from it using an income annuity to create that paycheck for life that we know they can't outlive. And then there's always a part, we talk about the 3-bucket approach a lot, the income bucket, which is your Social Security, pension, income annuities, your protected bucket, which is more a liquid protected bucket that's available for those unexpected surprises. And then your market bucket. Market bucket's for that, the rest of your life. It's going to go up and down and all that. And that's fine when we're not dependent on it for income the next month. So it's really just, taking a look at all those and making sure they're dovetailing together, working in conjunction with one another to help you get you where you need to be.
So back to that number, because a lot of people, we've seen all the commercials and the ads, right? What's your number? People focus on that big number. And as you said earlier, it's really more about the monthly number. And then how long can that monthly number stay around, I guess, huh?
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, paychecks are important. They're important while you're working, and they're even more important when you're retired because there's no more money coming in. We need to make sure we're optimizing what we have, right, to create that. And we go one step further than that. Paychecks, that's fun and that keeps the lights on. But really in retirement, you want to have the play check, right? Those dollars to go enjoy life every day, Saturday in retirement. We want to make sure people have the money to enjoy retirement. It's not just, hey, let's survive. I want to thrive in retirement. And I want my clients to do the same thing. And, that's what we're doing. So I just encourage people, take the first step. Don't go into retirement guessing, right? It's really easy to spend a little bit of time with the pros at Mitch Lyons Wealth, and we can run an analysis for you, dump all the data that you have, your different account statements, your pensions, your Social Security numbers, all that stuff, factor in inflation and see exactly where you stand, and then be tax efficient about it, right? Have a actual intentional plan of how you're going to create the income. What buckets is it going to come from each year? Tax brackets change over time, as we all know. So, 1 year, maybe you want to take more out of your IRA because you're in a lower tax bracket. And the next year, maybe you want to mix in some more of your Roth IRA. And so there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And that's something that I think it's better to start earlier than later.
So if you think about it, if you would come in and sit down with Mitch and the team at Mitch Lyons Wealth 10 years out from retirement, great. He may not take over any of your monies or anything, but it'd be a great time for them to help you get organized. Then that 5 years out, boy, really a good time. Better get started if it's going to get past you. A week out, a lot of people, hey, Mitch, I'm going to retire next week. What do you think I need to do? I mean, it's not that you can't help them, but the time frame has caused, and maybe they're already retired when they first call you. That's not unusual either, I would guess.
That's not at all, right? I mean, we can help people at any stage, but it's kind of like planting a tree, right? Best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago, but the next best time is today. So don't delay. There's no reason to keep kicking the can down the road because the problem isn't going away, right? It's just getting bigger and you're running out of time to address it. So the sooner the better. And it all just starts with that call that you mentioned, Mark. It's a 10-minute call just to, you may have some questions for us. We'll probably have some questions for you. If it makes sense and there's a reason to talk further and perhaps we can help in some way, we can schedule a Zoom call. We don't even make you leave your house. We do it virtually. We can just have a call. We can do a Zoom and we can take a look at your situation and see if there's opportunity to improve what you're doing. And if there is, great, we can point you in the right direction. If you're in a good spot, we're going to tell you that. I'm not going to waste your time or our time, but wouldn't it be good to know, right? And to know sooner than later, like I said, so you can address it. If there's things to do that can improve it, let's get on it.